That's how I feel.
Welcome to Making. Today I have the joy of having my wonderful husband on here with me today, and I'm very, very excited. It takes a lot for me to pin him down and get him to stop what he's doing so that I can get some things out of him. But today I'm going to talk about my latest blog post. But first off, I want to welcome you to Making. Say hi.
Hello.
So back to what we were going to discuss today. My recent post was dealing with the loss of our infant at 22 weeks. I went into a little bit in depth about that as far as what I was concerned as a mother. And I've heard different things from different people about the effects that it's had on them and how they feel so all alone and that their spouse didn't understand. They weren't there with them. And what many times that I let those mothers know is men deal with grief differently. They're not like us. They don't boohoo and squall and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, and of course, everybody deals with grief differently, but men deal with it completely different. And so for this blog post, for the video part of it, I wanted to focus on men and their aspect of grief when it comes to the loss of a child. So keep in mind that, like I said, we do things differently. We came through this, I feel like, stronger, but we both dealt with it differently. He didn't deal with it the same way I did. He didn't have the same emotions that I did. We both just handled it completely different. Don't you agree? So today I'm just going to let him kind of give you his side of the story and how he felt. We talked about this just a little bit earlier. Things were completely different for him in regards to this. He handled aspects of the loss that I didn't have to, such as the getting the burial together and things like that of our child. So he dealt with things that I didn't even have to deal with. He kept those things for me, and for that I'm very grateful. But so I have a few questions written down here that I'm just going to ask you, and you just pop out and use your little counseling brain and just give us a little insight of what you think. And I say that flippantly because I'm so proud of him. He's on his way to his master's degree in family marriage therapy. I'm getting it all. LMFT, licensed marriage family therapist. Anyways, I'm very, very proud of him. He doesn't realize how much I'm proud of him. What you can't see on the outside of his camera is a stack of huge books that he has sitting off to the side he's been working on and reading through. So anyways, let's get to this. I'll quit him hauling around. Anyways, so in the moments of our deepest grief, what memories or aspects of our journey together brought you comfort?
Just being together. I mean, I think that it's not just you dealing with something, it's not just me dealing with something, but it was we're in this together, the togetherness. We were in Texas. We were isolated from majority of people that we knew here in Tennessee, and just having one another. I remember your mom came down, and I think the biggest thing would be trying to get back to a sense of normalcy as quick as possible, and just being together. And then your mom coming down. She is my favorite mother-in-law. And,
I hope so. It's the only one you got. Better be.
And we have a very good relationship. But I remember her cooking a big breakfast the day after you delivered, and that was something that was more along the lines of what we would get if around Thanksgiving or Christmas, family get together. So it was a sense of normalcy, trying to get back to a normal routine, and just work our way through the fog of dealing with loss.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we actually have a picture of Audrey with
We
flour dough all over her that very day that my mom came in and she cooked those biscuits. All right, so second question. How has the loss of our child impacted your understanding of resilience and faith? Because sometimes God doesn't always, he doesn't say yes. Sometimes he says no.
Well, with resilience, first, again, it goes back to bouncing back as quick as you can to getting things to normal. And having lived the experience, it does return to normal. It's, for me, it was different. I don't know. I felt like you asked me earlier what my emotions were, and there's just a lot of, I think that I can recall, of shock. There was an emotional numbing, I guess, just because we still had Audrey, we still had to take care of her, and so anyway. But resilience is bouncing back to normal. That would be, and then thinking about faith. My faith, I never dealt with a lack of trusting in God or believing God, and I think in some ways it even brought me closer. It challenged and strengthened my faith to know that I could go through these types of things, and I could still show up to church and worship and minister from a place of brokenness. So that would be how I would respond to resilience and faith.
Okay. So as we face this heartbreaking experience together, what strengths did you discover within yourself that you didn't realize that you had?
What strengths? Maybe just consistency, because we were in a place of pastor there in Angleton, and I don't know that we missed any church. I don't know that we missed anything that we had going on. So just continually drawing from that, consistency, showing up, being the leader, being the showing, not necessarily, it wasn't that I set out to show that I'm strong, but my actions said that we drew from a deep strength that had been built over time.
Right. Well, and I will say, I want to point out one thing before I get to the last question, that when we talked about the fact that we dealt with it differently, while I was in the hospital, of course, my mother was there, so that was a huge help for me because I had my mom to lean on. He wasn't in the room the whole time. There was parts of it that he couldn't handle, and in my mind, as a mother and a wife, I understood. I guess this is where understanding one another kind of comes in that respect of, I understood where he was coming from. I knew how much he could handle. I was grieving and I was hurting. I grieve, like we said, we all grieve differently, and I was grieving in the point where I preferred being alone. It's not that I didn't want him beside me. I knew he was there, and I knew if I were to say, I need you in here and I need you in here right now, it didn't matter how he felt, he would have come back in that room and stayed in that room, correct? You would have stayed in there. But because I didn't say that, he had the freedom to stay outside and wait until things were done. He did not hold the baby. I did. We asked, and he preferred not to. I did it, and it was out of the coaxing of my mother, and I'm glad that she did, because it did help me in the, I guess kind of help me put a closure on it. As far as him, did I get upset because he didn't? No. Was I upset because he wasn't in the room and he couldn't take it? No. There was a part of me that had to understand his perspective and how he was feeling about it. So overall, I think what I would say is that in a relationship, if something like that happens between the two of you, I think there needs to be a way that you've got to learn to understand one another. Do you not agree?
Yeah, there's got to be space. You got to have, you got to be supportive, but also, those finding your space is important.
Yeah, exactly. So last question. So what advice would you offer to parents who have experienced loss of a child based on our own journey and the lessons we learned together.
And this is, the context of this is a miscarriage as well. It's not, I'm not wanting to speak to those that have lost children that have been born.
And had them.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So
yes, absolutely.
I'm just, this
clarifying.
is a one aspect type of loss. But again, I think the theme that I am returning to is getting back to normal as quickly as you can. You don't, it's not that you're forgetting. I encourage you to go through the grieving process. I think it's Fowler's 5 stages of grief. But you're going to grieve. You're going to have to process it. But getting back to a place of normalcy, don't neglect your walk with God. Don't neglect the spiritual aspect of the importance of being in church, being around those that love you, being around your family that is supportive. Those things help bring, there's got to be a sense of closure, but it does get back to normal. You will get through it. There'll always be that piece of you that is left behind, but at the same time, you do laugh again. You do enjoy life again. You do cry. You the range of emotions. But just getting back to sense of normalcy. Don't get in a place where you stall and allow those things to take you under. Reach out for support. Reach out for your peers. Find support in your community, in your church, because it's there.
And going on that about reaching out for support, I did say that in my blog post about the fact that I had someone reach out to me and they actually helped walk me through some of my grief. I recommend it. And it was because of my husband that they reached out to me, because he saw that it's just the type of person that I am. It's the way I've been raised. It hits you, you have it happen, you suck it up, buttercup, and you just keep on moving. But sometimes that's not always the answer. Sometimes you need to work through it. Sometimes you do need to talk through it. You need to grieve. And so getting that support that you need from a counselor or somebody that understands, that is what you need. And I was so grateful that he did that, because it did help me along with my journey. Can I say today that I don't still grieve? No, I still grieve. His birthday's coming up, and it's going to be a day for me. It may not be so much for him, but it is for me. And that's where that difference comes in of having a child, holding it, having it for a season and then losing it, versus that miscarriage of me having the baby, still holding him, but I never got to see his laughter or his smiles or things like that. So there is a difference. But what is it Ecclesiastes says? There's a time to mourn, a time for laughter. I'm probably messing the whole verse up, but anyways, it's in Ecclesiastes. You can look it up, but it's all there. There's a time and a season for everything, and we have to keep that in mind. So thank you for showing up and helping us through this. So even though you feel like your spouse may not be there for you, just remember they're grieving too. They're just grieving in a different way. And that's one of the biggest things I want you to take from just our little bit here. We both share the grief, we just grieve in different ways. So I hope you've enjoyed today's little video episode, vlog, whatever. I don't know, it's a vlog, it's not a day in my life, but I guess it is a day in my life. But anyways, so don't forget, check us out on YouTube and on Facebook and Instagram. Please go like, share, do all the fun stuff, and put it out there, because I definitely want more people to check those things out. I love you. You're my family. Thank you for making.